Hello, my name is Oliver Glantz. I'm Professor of Old Testament at Andrews University. I would like to demonstrate in this video a comparison between logos and accordance. You see here on the left the accordance installation, here on the right a logos installation. Each of those installations are running in a virtual machine that has the same hardware configuration, that doesn't have any other software installed but accordance and logos, so it is really set up for honest and objective comparison. The accordance installation that you find here on the left and the logos installation that you find on the right are comparable with regard to the resources that they are offering. They basically have a type of original language library available. So in this video tutorial I would like to run through a couple of categories that I'm going to compare. The first one is the installation procedure, the second one is the program startup time and feel, the third one is going to be how each accordance and logos are going to display texts. Then we are going to have a look at the how and feel on how accordance and logos are actually allowing the user to work with their texts with regard to highlighting and annotating. Then we're going to have a look at the simple word searches and how to run them in accordance and logos. Then we have complex word searches, and then we're having a look at how the library search functions are comparing. Then we are going to have a look at what accordance and logos offer with regard to mobile apps, and we will finish with a discussion of how the two products compare with regard to their cloud and syncing services. And finally we're going to conclude with the help of a PDF document in which I kind of list the results of all those comparisons that we have performed. Now keep in mind that this video tutorial is just for the purpose of kind of a comparison of general features. I'm not going to delve into each of the functionalities that accordance or logos are offering. I will produce a couple of video tutorials that will focus on specific features that logos and accordance offer in a later moment. Okay, let's start with our comparison and let's talk about the installation procedure. If you have looked at my video tutorials on how to install logos and accordance, you will have seen that the first couple of steps in the installation procedure are very similar. In fact, in both cases you have to go to the website, their website, to the accordance website or the logos website. You have to log in with your credentials, you have to go to your purchase history. Within your purchase history you have to download the core engines or the engines that drive accordance or logos. Once you have downloaded these engines, you have to install them. Once you have installed the engines, then you're required in both accordance and logos to log in to your account so that the engine recognizes what type of resources it has to download. Then it's going to download the resources, and from that moment on we have a huge difference between accordance and logos. So once everything is downloaded, accordance just finishes the installation procedure and you can start working. As you see here, the whole process does only take 12 minutes in the hardware configuration that I've chosen, which is a 4 GB RAM, 100 GB hard disk, and one core that I'm dedicating from an i7 processor. Now logos is very different in that regard. After the resources have been downloaded, by the way, the resource download size is about the same. So in both cases we had about 1 GB of resources that we downloaded. This is because the libraries are quite similar that I'm using here in this comparison. But after the resources have been downloaded, a long and tedious indexation process starts with logos. this is the reason why we have a 15-minute installation procedure on the LOGOS side versus a 12-minute installation procedure on Accordance. So basically, the 38-minute difference is due to that indexation process. During that time, you basically cannot work with your computer efficiently because your computer is going to slow down tremendously. It also costs a lot of RAM and processing power to finish this indexation process. Now the bad news is actually that that this indexation has to take place whenever LOGOS is going to offer an updated resource. So whenever you're downloading a resource update or purchasing a new resource, you will have to go through this indexation process, which regardless whether you have a Mac or a PC is going to significantly slow down your computer. Now expect at least 3 to 4 resource updates per month, so that will mean that you have to go through this long indexation process at least 3 to 4 times per month, which depending on your hardware constellation and depending on the size of your library can take between 30 minutes up to 6-7 hours. I've seen this happening on machines that have a weaker processor and have less RAM. So here definitely Accordance has a huge advantage in the way how they put together their resources. 12 minutes versus 15 minutes. Okay, let's go to the next session, namely the comparison of the program startup time. Let's move here to our program installations, and we're going to click on both programs in approximately the same time, and I will have here my phone with a stopwatch where I'm trying to monitor how long we need for the 2 programs to start up. So let's double click on LOGOS and on Accordance and start the stopwatch. So Accordance is ready, that's 4 seconds. Now LOGOS is ready, which is, let me see, 14 seconds. Sorry, 13 seconds. Yeah, so 4 seconds on the Accordance side versus 13 seconds on the LOGOS side. So what you see here is that basically LOGOS is 3 times as slow as Accordance. This is an important observation that we can make here, and that is that depending on your hardware resources, LOGOS will be will grant you a very slow experience. So you will have to wait a long time until the LOGOS Bible software has started up, and it will take also a while to to work with the resources, open resource and stuff like that. In contrast, Accordance is blazing fast. Even on older hardware, it runs very smooth and well. Okay, good. So let's move to the next section. So in this section, we're going to compare the different display functions. So we're talking here about how the different programs display their texts. So let's here remove all the text that we have opened in our 2 programs and start them anew, so that we kind of get a fresh experience on how it feels and looks like with regard to how to open texts. So we now in both cases have nothing left. Well, we need to get here our instant details window out of the way. Okay, so now you basically have an empty space both in Accordance and LOGOS. Let's start with Accordance on how to open text. So you will have to click here on this plus sign, and this is one way of doing it. Again, I'm not going into depth with either Accordance nor LOGOS in this comparison. So we, let's say, want to have a Hebrew text, a Greek text, and a modern translation text. So we use here the Hebrew Biblia Hebraica Stuttgartensia text. then we want to add a parallel text. So you do that by clicking here. Let's see, use the ESV as an English translation, and then let's use the Nestle Aland. Of course, you're not going to see anything here because we're in the Old Testament, but once we move into the New Testament, in Matthew 1, you will see that the Hebrew text site is empty. Let's also add here an instant detail window. You see this down here. Whenever I'm hovering over words, you'll see that at the bottom we are going to get some morphological information as well as the glosses. For example, here, huiou, that would be a noun, masculine singular in genitive, and the gloss is son. Okay, so let's move here over to Logos and see how it works there. In order to open text, you click here on Library, and it shows you all the text that you have actually, that you own in your installation. We want the Hebrew text, so Hebrew Bible. Here we have the Westminster Morphology. Now let's move this to the right side. You can see that I can easily move text to anywhere in this Logos space. And then we want the ESV. Here's the ESV. So I could, move it anywhere where I want. Down here, or just keep it parallel. And then let's add our Nestle Aland, our Greek New Testament. Here it is. And then let's open our information window. Okay, good. So let's move this over here. Now, if we want to have the exactly same setup, we would have to get the information window here, down here. So, okay, good. So now you see we have a very similar way of displaying our texts. When I click on a Hebrew word, you see down there the lexical entry and also the morphological information. The same you see when I'm clicking, for example, here on the Greek word huiou. You see it's a noun, genitive, singular, masculine. No. Okay, good. What you see, however, is that the program is a little bit slower. So you see I'm clicking here, for example, on Jesus, Christo, Abraham, huiou, David. David doesn't come. Huiou comes. Abraham. So on accordance, it's very fast. At the moment where I'm hovering over a word, it appears. Again, when you have strong hardware, and this is not so much of an issue on the Logos side, but if you have weaker hardware, this will become a problem. Okay, let's move to the next item, highlighting and annotating. One of the great features of modern Bible software is that you can treat the digital version of the text very similar to your printed versions. You can highlight them and annotate them as you like. So let's have first a look here at how annotation and highlighting works in accordance. If I want to highlight something, I have to select the word or words that I want to highlight, in this case here in the beginning, and then I have to click. So that's step 1. Step 2 is I have to click here on the highlight section, and step 3 is I have to select highlighting item. Can specify a couple of colors here, but this is something I'm not going to focus on now. So we just click here on the yellow highlighter and I'm good. So this is how highlighting works. 3 steps. You select, you click on the highlighter, and then you click the type of coloring that you, or symbols that you choose, that you want to have. Now in Logos, this looks similar, but there's an option for a much better way here in Logos. So I also select, as I did that in accordance, my word or words. Then I click here on the Tools section, highlighting. So now this pane opens, and I can now choose whatever color or option is offered here in this highlighting pane. So I click here on yellow, and now in the beginning is yellow. Now what is great about Logos in that regard is that I can actually give shortcuts, key shortcuts to the different highlighting options. You see that here I chose for yellow the shortcut yellow. I did for red the R, and for green the G. So I can now take this whole hiding pane away and use the shortcuts for highlighting. Word was God, or darkness has not overcome green. So it's very fast, very efficient, much better than the experience here in accordance. Okay, let's go back to accordance with regard to annotation. So whenever you're in a verse, you will see on the right side this little pen symbol. And what that allows you to do is it allows you to add notes, and annotations. So for example, here we are going, let's say, to the Greek John 1 verse 1. I can click here on the right side, or verse 2, I can click here on the right side on the pen item, and come on, it seems to run away. Here we go. So here we go. And now I can write anything I want with regard to verse 1. So he was in the beginning. Let's say I want to add NAG. Okay. And then I write the same phrase appeared in verse 1. Good, now I have done my note, and now when I'm hovering over this note symbol, you see in the information window down here the note that I've actually written. I can double click on the note, and then I'm able to further edit my you see here the note, I can further edit the note. Accordance is not very flexible with regard to displaying the notes. You see I'm basically having here a text box. I can move it here on the right or left side, but I cannot move it or integrate that down here into the information window section. Okay, how does annotation look like in Logos? Well, here again I can create an annotation document. So here let's go to Documents, Notes. Then I give that note a name. Let's say I'm writing a sermon on John 1. So I have now my sermon John 1 note. I can now click on whatever thing I want to annotate. Let's say I want to write an annotation here on verse 1. Click on the reference and then add a note. So I can now write NAG. Let's copy paste this. We did also in accordance. So this phrase reminds the reader about the beginning of Genesis 1. Okay, good. Yeah, let's add this phrase, Bereshit. Copy, and then brackets. Here we have this. Now what you will see, and this is another advantage of Logos, is that automatically the references that you're typing in are going to be hyperlinked. So you see I wrote Genesis 1, and without me doing anything, the software already recognizes that this is a Bible verse, and it gives me this little pop-up window where I can actually see what I've written. So here, for example, when I write let's say Exodus 1 verse 1, I hover over it and you see verse 1 of Exodus chapter 1. Okay, this is how highlighting works. Much more flexible than in Logos compared to Accordance, and Logos offers also, I think, a much better way of writing notes. Okay, let's move to the next section, the simple word searches. The simple word searches look very similar in the different programs, so let's have first a look here at Accordance. Let's say we're searching for the word bara in Genesis 1 verse 1. In the beginning it created God. You right click, search for lexeme, and now you have all the cases in which the word bara appears in the entire Tanakh or Old Testament, 48 hits, as you can see here. Now we can do the same in Logos. You right click on bara, you choose your lexeme, and then you say search this resource. If you choose inline, it does exactly the same thing that Accordance does. Yeah, so here you have all your results. Now you could also say search in a separate window, and then you have your results in a separate window, and you can graph your results in whatever way you want. Graphing possibilities you also have in Accordance. As you see here, this little graph sign, there you could have different displays of your results. Okay, now if you want to have a little bit more complicated or complex word search, where you do not just want to search for a lemma but also for lexeme, sorry, not just for a lexeme but also for morphological information, then you have to do the following. So let me get this out, okay? Words. Now you type in your Hebrew word, and the nice thing here about Accordance is that it matches the sounds of the keyboard with the sound of the Hebrew alphabet. And once you have chosen your lexeme, you could run your query but get only the cases where the lexeme appears. No more morphological information is added at this moment. So that's what we want to do. We want to search for, let's say, this Carl second person appearances of that word. So we have to go to the search tab here, enter tag, click on verb, and now we can specify the verb bara by saying it should be Carl and the person should be second person go. Okay, let's run the query. There are two cases, two hits in both in Psalms. Let's do the same thing here in Logos. We have our bara case. Now what you do is enter H, that stands for Hebrew. Then you can write your lexeme, and you can just type it the way it sounds, and Logos will recognize the consonants of the word that you actually are looking for. Bara to create. Okay, I could now search for the word and get this inline search results, as we did with Accordance as well. But now we want to add information, morphological information. Bara. In order to add morphological information, you need to enter this email sign, and then you can enter into the selection box verb Carl, verb Carl second person. There we go, and here you have your results. So both ways are straightforward and easy. I prefer the Logos way of doing it because in this command line, without much clicking, I can just continue modifying the word that I'm searching for. However, you need to know a couple of codes, well, two codes, namely the email sign and then the H colon sign for searching Hebrew words. In accordance, there you can do much more with clicking. That is very handy if you just get to know the program, but it's a little less efficient if you because you cannot easily and quickly write your command in the command line. Okay, that's it on the simple word searches. Okay, let's move to the next section, complex word searches. The nice thing about Accordance and Logos is that they offer you also graphical ways of doing word searches. So let's go here first to Accordance. In order to do a graphical construction of a query, you have to click here on File, New, Constructs. And since we're going to have a construct for the Hebrew text, let's delete here these. We choose the Hebrew construct version. Let's say we're searching for two verbs that have different morphological configurations but the same lexeme. So let's say the first one has to be participle. Okay, and the second verb has to be an imperfect, or yektal for the ones who use modern terminology. Alright, so now let's say we want to allow that between these two verbs other words can appear. So I'm using here this connecting item within, and let's say we allow for 1 till 10 words between the participle and the imperfect. But what we said is we want that both verbs actually contain the same lexeme. So I use this agree operator, and I say I want them to actually be identical to with regard to the lexeme. Okay, so and then I can run my query search. Here we go. So you see all the results here, 62 hits, and if you want you can also have graphical displays of your hits. You can do exactly the same also in Logos. Okay, let's see how that looks in Logos. Now, Logos offers also such a feature, a graphical constructor of queries. Let's see here. No, let's not float the panel. Okay, in order to do that, you need to have the right database collected. This is the same actually also for Accordance. So what we said is we want 2 segments, that's how they call it in this database. Each database has kind of its own terminology. Now what we wanted is we said we want the same morphology, right? So we say morphology, sorry, in the wrong section, part of speech. Morphology is a verb, and the verb is supposed to be a participle. That's what we wanted. Let me see. This database has a couple of different participle options, so let's choose all of them. Okay, good. So that's this. Then the second segment we said we wanted to have that as yektoll, or an imperfect. So verb, and that's a prefix, that's how they call it here. Okay, we have our 2 elements that you also saw here in Accordance. Now between those 2 elements we said we allow for up to 10 words. So let's do this. We say this can appear between, repeats this, 1 till 10 words. Okay, good. So we have 1 till 10 words, and now we want to get this agreement feature. So we go here to agreement, and say add a rule, and we want to say that the lexeme agrees with segment 1. Okay, good. So now we should be good to go and run the query by clicking here on search. Again, you see it takes much longer in LOGOS to run a query like that, but here you have all the cases that we found. Okay, so this is how you run more complex queries in LOGOS and in accordance. Real complex queries, syntactically complex queries, neither LOGOS nor accordance are able to do. They have to go to a more advanced services like the Shibang Ancient Data service. However, there's good news. Accordance is going to release in the very near future the ETCBC Amsterdam Hebrew database, and then also complex and technical searches can be run with accordance. LOGOS has promised this but not yet offered any solution on this, so we might wait here for much longer. They promised this for a couple of years, but they have not worked on that yet. So we're getting to the end of this little video by having a look at the library search functions that LOGOS and Accordance are offering. So let's move here to Accordance first. Up here on the left you see this library icon. When you click on this, you basically are able to have a look at all the dictionaries, commentaries, tools, whatever you have in your resource. So here you see everything. So it's quite a bit. Now you can organize your resources in groups. This is quite handy, especially when you prefer to query certain resources that you regard to be important or of a higher quality. So you could, for example, say I want to create a group that only contains the best commentaries that I know, let's say a Simea or Biblical commentary or something like this, but I want to exclude other commentaries in searches. Then these group features are excellent to utilize. Now, in order to do a bulk search, that means to search your entire library or sections of that library, here you need your groups, you do by here clicking on the plus and then saying I want to research. So when you research, you have this option to choose different categories of resource collections. You can say I'm searching actually everything I'm having when you click on all, or I'm searching on my personal selection of Bibles, for example. I just created this selection. Or I'm only searching for commentaries, so I'm searching for entries in commentaries. So here you can access the entire library and sections of it as you in ways that you define. So let's search in the entire library the word Sabbath. Of course, this is in a sense a simple query. You see, we have now searched the entire library, and wherever we find the word Sabbath, it does appear. For example, here dictionaries, Edmund's dictionary. Well, here we have the Sabbath. Or let's say commentaries. Here the New Bible Commentary. Here you have Sabbath entries, and so on. Biblical studies, and translations. You will get access to all the sections where the word Sabbath appears. So let's go here to LOGOS and see how that works. When you want to search anything, you can click here on that search sign. Let's make this a little bit bigger. Let's have this float. Now you see that you have different types of searches that you could run. Syntax searches, morphological searches, these only relate to Greek and Hebrew texts. You can just search media, that is pictures, or only Bibles, or basic. When you click on basic, you can basically search the entire library. And here's the same thing as you have in Logos. You can define own selections so that you can just search within your own selections. The way you can define your selections, I will show in a later tutorial. Okay, good. Let's say we search the entire library and choose also the word Sabbath here. Okay, let's run this. And while we are still searching, you see we also get a display of the words that Logos has found already. Again, comparing this to Accordance, Logos is slower. It's still fast, but it's significantly slower. You can organize this by rank, by resources. See here the different resources. You can organize this by count. So there you have a little bit more fancy options of organization of research results when compared to Accordance. Let's now talk about the mobile apps that Logos and Accordance are offering. I'm running here both the Accordance as well as the Logos app on an iPad 2, which is kind of outdated hardware, but it showcases a little bit better the performance differences between the Accordance app as well as the Logos app. Now, the first thing that I have to say is the Accordance app is not available on Android. So Accordance is only available on iOS devices, that's iPads and iPods and iPhones. It's not available on any of the Android devices. Logos, though, is both available on iOS as well as on Android devices. Let's start here with Accordance first. Let's go here to chapter 2, verse 15 of Genesis, and let's say we are interested in the word put him. The Lord took the man and put him into the garden. So I can showcase you the highlighting here. Into the Garden of Eden. Highlight, choose my color. Alright, good. So let's go to the Hebrew text. So this is to put him. Now you see, I just have to click on the words and I get instant information about the morphological and lexical information. I get this information, by the way, independent whether I'm connected to the internet or not. This is different to Logos. In Logos, I can only get morphological and lexical information as long as I'm connected to the internet. So let's also highlight this here, and you will see that it is a little bit more complicated to highlight texts here, especially when you compare that in a second with Logos. Okay, so even here, the ESV, I just click on a word and I get direct information about the Hebrew morphological and lexical information. That's because of Strong's numbering happening here. But besides that, the app runs really smoothly, really nicely. I can annotate, I can highlight my text, and when it's connected to the Dropbox account, it's actually quite smooth. So let's go to the Logos app. Here we have Logos. Logos allows for as smooth of a scrolling of text as Accordance does. They have improved that quite a bit in the past. It's also the more modern app. It has features that the Accordance app doesn't have, and the great thing, it runs on both Android as well as on iOS devices. So here, let's go to verse 15. Chapter 2, verse 15. And do the same thing. We wanted to highlight and put him in the Garden of Eden. So what you see is I can I just tapped my finger on the first word and continued moving over the next couple of words, and automatically my text is highlighted. This is great. I can also quickly shift the color of the text by just clicking on the highlighted words and then changing the colors, like I'm going to do here. So, okay, this takes a while since all the information is somehow syncing instantly with the web, with the cloud, and that takes more time. So I can also get information about the morphological and lexical nature of the words. For example, I click on it and I say look up. Now, the looking up, as you see, takes quite some time, and it's only working when I have an internet connection. So to sum it up, my to-go app for reading and annotating is Logos. My to-go app for reading and studying Hebrew or Greek texts where I need morphological information or lexical information just because I don't know all the vocab is Accordance. So this is the difference between the two apps. Of course, there come a lot of features come with those two apps, but for this tutorial, I'm just trying to focus on the most basic features, namely reading, annotating, looking up information. Let's talk about our last topic, namely cloud services and syncing. Here the two programs differ quite a bit. Logos offers a complete syncing service with their own cloud servers somewhere in Bellingham, I think they are located. The nice thing is that on the fly the program syncs all the adaptations, new files, annotations, notes that you're producing. So whenever you change something, you will see this little icon here rotating. So let's add something here, dry land. Let's put this into green. So now, I have chosen red, so green. So now we have added something. Now we can continue working on this, and then you will see each couple of seconds this thing will rotate. You can also click on it and then it will do the syncing for you if you don't want to trust the automatic syncing mode. But it's excellent because it allows you to open any other instance of your Logos installation that has your credentials, and you will see the same highlightings, notes, and whatever you chose or produced or created in Logos will show up in the other installations as well, not just on other Mac or PC installations, but also on your mobile devices. So that's a great feature here of Logos, and that is a huge advantage that Logos has over Accordance. So when you look at Accordance doesn't have any sync service, in-house sync service or sync server, but it allows you to sync with third-party app Dropbox. Now, there are two problems with this. Number one is you need to have a Dropbox account that has enough space for you to store information, notes, highlighting, and whatever you do in Accordance. The second problem that comes with this third-party application is that it doesn't sync on the fly. So it only syncs when you close the program. When you close the program, a little window will pop up and it will say, I'm now syncing with Dropbox. That means all the things that you're doing right now on Accordance won't show up in any other Accordance installation or your Accordance app on iOS devices unless you have closed this program and pushed the changes into Dropbox. So this is definitely a advantage, but you have syncing option through the third-party app Dropbox, and once you have found out how to work with that, you should be fairly okay. But you need to remind yourself, and you need to make sure that you close the program in order to get your files synced. So here, definitely Logos is ahead of the game. Okay, let's bring our comparison to a conclusion. In order to do so, I would like to have a look here at a PDF document that I put together. Now, first of all, I would like to remind myself and you that every comparison, of course, is biased, as is this comparison. Now, the bias is basically expressed in my attitude towards accordance and logos, as I'm looking and comparing accordance and logos not from the perspective of the lay member, the church lay member, or interested lay person in biblical studies, but I'm looking at this comparison from the perspective of the professional pastor, the theology student, the seminarian. Now, when you take such a perspective, you also are not that much interested in some of the features that specifically Logos is offering, that cater more to the needs of the lay person, like prayer lists and devotions and, for example, pronunciations of the Hebrew alphabet, these kind of things, or Greek alphabet. These kind of things are not really of interest to the seminarian, the theology student, or the professional pastor. So with this having said, we can run through this chart quickly. Now, the academic essentials are available on both Accordance and Logos. Both offer the same essential resources, like the Biblia Hebraica Stuttgartensia, the Nestle Aland 28, and so on. When it comes to the the breadth and width of the academic library that you could purchase from Accordance and Logos, there we will start seeing differences. Logos has most of the high-ranked resources, that's dictionaries, commentaries, primary resources, and stuff like that. They are available via Logos. Accordance has many, not most, many. So you will lack some dictionaries, some commentaries, some primary resources, although they are always trying to catch up and add information and tools to their software. They are not there compared to Logos. So Logos is definitely the complete, or trying to strive for offering a complete library. This brings us to the next point for the Seventh-day Adventist Theological Seminary, for which I'm working. None of the Ellen G. White, DARCOM, General Revelation Committee, Jacques Ducan's works, Ranko Stefanovich's works, etc. are available in Accordance. However, Accordance is working at this moment with SDA publishers in order to offer in the future SDA resources. This is different in Logos. Logos has major SDA related resources like the SDA Bible Commentary and Your Study Bible, Journal of Adventist Theological Society, Ellen G. White Writings, DARCOM, and so on. That's all there now, so you don't have to wait, it's there already, and they're growing their SDA offers. With regard to OS platforms, operating systems, both support Mac as well as PC. However, since Logos requires much more high-end hardware and is working only with the latest software out there, you're not able to run Logos on older Windows installations. So from Windows 7 on, Logos is supported. That's different with Mac OS, with Accordance. You're even able to install Accordance on an old Windows XP machine. That's quite remarkable. Also, older OS X versions are supported in Accordance that are not supported in Logos. Mobile platforms, an important issue because many of you will be using your apps, your iPads, your iPhones, Android phones, tablets, whatever, in your church-related work. Well, keep in mind, Accordance does only offer iOS apps. So iPhone and iPad are covered, no Android tablets, nothing on which Android is running. On the positive side, however, you can run Bible searches, word searches, and look up morphological information and lexical information without having an internet connection. That is remarkable, that is great. The app runs fast and stable. Now, with regard to Logos, it is a very modern and mature app that gives you a lot of functionality. It's much better in my experience with regard to annotation and highlighting. It has this efficient sync engine that is built in. However, the great disadvantage of Logos on mobile apps is that you need an internet connection in order to look up morphological and lexical information, or even run simple word searches. That's just not possible with Logos without an internet connection. Also, the entire look up experience, like looking up morphological lexical information, is much slower compared to Accordance, so keep that in mind. Search functionalities, they all offer very powerful search functionalities when as long as it remains simple, like a word or word combinations. They can be put together in a simple way on both platforms, and the search results are delivered quickly, although Accordance definitely has the edge here. Not just the edge, it's just much faster than Logos. However, complex word searches are definitely easier to put together in Accordance. Logos here is much more difficult. Unless you're a Logos insider, then you can also find your efficient ways in putting together complex word searches. When it comes to syntax, both Logos and Accordance fall far behind. Complex search queries, syntactical queries cannot really be put together by neither Accordance nor Logos. Accordance promises, Accordance is working, it's not just promising, it's working actually on the implementation of the ETCPC Amsterdam Hebrew database. Once that database is implemented, and they're very close to doing that, we will have definitely the most powerful search engine within commercial Bible software products for the Old Testament. Logos has promised that for many years to their customers, that they would integrate the ETCPC database. For years they have not kept their promise, and we continue to wait until they catch up here. Okay, the performance, as you have seen in the comparison, Accordance is very fast. Logos is fast enough if you have strong hardware. If you have hardware that's older than 2-3 years old, your computer will struggle significantly. So if you have older hardware and you're not planning or not having the budget to buy new hardware, you basically will get frustrated with Logos, definitely. Program maintenance. Regularly updates are pushed through both by Accordance as well as Logos. While Accordance does that one to two times per month, Logos does that more regularly, so at least 3-4 times per month. Updated resources are pushed through, and the amounts of the downloads are massive, so you need to have a good internet connection. Now, the huge plus here for Accordance is that Accordance doesn't need any indexing after updated resources have been downloaded and installed. That is the case with Logos, and it is a pain. It can slow down even a strong modern computer for several hours as the indexing takes place. Of course, it's dependent on how big the database or how big your bundle is that you've purchased with Logos. But for example, my Gold Edition bundle, I have installed it here on an M5 processor of 2016, 8GB RAM, 256 SSD, so it's quite a strong configuration, and even the processor is quite a good performing processor. It took me 4 hours until the indexation was complete. For 4 hours I basically wasn't able to really work on my computer, so make sure that all these updates are only taking place in the night time. Okay, now system requirements. Basically Accordance allows you to really run with outdated hardware, and it will still be a pleasant experience even if you have just 1GB of RAM. You are good to go. Even older OS X versions like 10.06, Snow Leopard are supported. That's not the case with LOGOS, where you need to run latest operating system versions, be that Windows or OS X, and you need strong hardware. Now finally, when it comes to the cost of additional resources, if you plan to buy additional resources, additional dictionaries or commentaries or so on in the future, I've compared most of the prices, and the prices are rather identical. Of course, you have always this an exception to the rule, but in general you're not going to save with one Bible software product over the other Bible software product. In conclusion, if you have old hardware and you cannot afford buying new hardware, you have to go with Accordance. That's just what it is. Big point. Second thing that you have to, in my opinion, have to consider, if you are a non-Mac user, especially for mobile devices, if you don't have an iPhone or an iPad and don't plan to use these devices, that's for example in my particular case the case, then you cannot go with Accordance. You have to go with LOGOS. When you're an Android user, you have to go with LOGOS if you want to have a complete Bible software experience, where the experience on your laptop and desktop is similar to your experience on your mobile device. Yeah, I think that's all what I want to mention here in this comparison video. If you have any questions, put your questions into the comment section below this video and we'll see how we can answer them. All the best. Bye bye.